So unless I am a complete lunatic like SLMD have said because they are salty, I have found the checkpoint and narrowed it to the kitchen-size search area. The arcs are the checkpoint, probably in the area I cut out so it couldn't be checked for location, because I am still looking. But everything is checked out so far, and given me a search area. I do have to thank Justin for giving out how to solve in any scenario. I was a little worried I didn't have the right conditions today. But Gin realized I have all the different solve methods.
NFW members in this group become the crazies from the Netflix documentary.
That's not very clear or bright. Also, a rainbow's location changes as your location changes. Beautiful picture, though.
Are you BOTG right now? Because you seem to be saying you've solved it. And Justin said it's impossible to solve completely from home.
Salty. LOL. When do you go BOTG?
Is you around the bend and past the hole a walking distance?
Yes. And visual verified with that.
Some light basin, she's at Justin's FF. Solve same hill he's looking at when he's holding the map.
I really felt I had a strong solve. But the darn HN hole was not walking distance, unless it was a small letter.
Have to ask, is there a certain smell?
Good luck. Many of us are past the lunatic stage. Would love to know some of your solve?
Where's the granite?
So sure, I've solved it. If Justin wants PM me, I am sure I've solved this. I believe I have this solved. Even separated between all the ways to solve it. Now I need to get there.
If you hit the zero doubt checkpoint, you wouldn't be on here. No offense, just saying.
He's not going to reply and say one way or the other, you're right. You're so confident, like the 500 others. Just go get it.
I think if you said you found a search area that you feel leads you to the treasure would be a better statement. I personally have had at least 10 or more people contact me saying they have it 100% solved and ask if I would get it and split it with them. I have a good amount of time BOTG, and I'm confident I'm searching in the right direction, but I would never say I have it solved. I would let the proof speak from itself. Good luck with your solve.
It is strange that you have to be dying on a hill when he hit it with a broken leg. I wonder how he did it if strong, healthy, and unbroken people have a hard time.
Not to be a bubble buster, but it seems like 50 locations match. You're like the 500th person that says this before ever getting boots on ground or certain of checkpoint 100%. Wycalon here on say Justin can PM you. You can PM him IFS, not like he's going to be like, YAY, go get IT now. The adventure is BOTG, not a PM, to confirm a solve. Good luck, go get it, but I would never say on a public post I know where it is after seeing people go BOTG multiple times swearing they knew where it was.
I remember my first solve like it was yesterday. Hiked 32 miles in 3 feet of snow. Got to my spot and realized I was an idiot. Saw 2 bears, 1 moose, and a ton of elk. Turns out finding the checkmark in snow was harder than finding the bride. Haven't been back since. If no one retrieves it before the snow, I'll have to go prove myself a fool next. If you know, just go. Nobody that stepped within 200 of it will tell anyone publicly. Saying, I've solved it on here is a reach for validation stemming from your confirmation bias. Just go.
The primary goal of participating in the treasure hunt, and this group in particular, is to retrieve the treasure. The only way to know unequivocally if you successfully found the solution is to follow the instructions provided with the treasure and contact the steward. When do you think you're going to retrieve it? And will you be letting us know after you found and secured it? I hope you share the solution with us. I believe the searchers deserve to know. However, ultimately, it's your decision. I'm super excited for you, but at the same time, I'm kind of jealous in a nice way. Conger.
Who all thinks the poem is themed-oriented? Not so much a travel path, but an assortment of associated stanzas matching a particular topic. Like if the whole poem was about hot air balloons, and you had to figure out all the obfuscation to solve it, with no more knowledge than applying a hot air balloon ideal to the whole poem.
I was so hyped because I found the missing piece that I needed for the hunt, and now I'm just heartbroken. I was so excited and now it all just went away. My emotions are everywhere. Life is so hard sometimes. It's hard for my brain to get back on track and be happy that I finally found it. Someone send me some motivation to keep my mind occupied. Send me on a new rabbit hole.
It is a blessing to be part of this journey. I went to Wyoming with my father who has cancer. We had such a good time and the memories were incredible. My dad was like a kid looking around for a treasure. We didn't find it, but the adventure, the dream. We will never forget. Do not get discouraged. Always be positive and enjoy life and live it to your fullest. Life is so short, don't waste time with negativity. We love you just for being with us in this adventure. Don't give up.
This same thing has happened to me several times. It's a very unusual, crushing feeling of letting everyone down. But one I've come to realize, still working on, is that this adventure has changed my life. I head out Thursday for a solve that #CampWrongUT. This time, I'm going to enjoy the journey. The fact that we all take these risks and leave and search for treasure is wild and takes a special kind of person to take risk and follow one's heart and intention like we do. But do we really do this for treasure? I find myself in the wilderness in the most odd and wonderful situations that a well-educated book writer could describe. I guess my point is, enjoy the journey! Failure and bad decisions make great stories. The fact that you broke the mundane cycle of a 9-5 and took risks and believed in yourself is worth more than any treasure in the world. Start planning your next trip and don't give up.
It's like gambling. Don't let your emotions get involved. Look back on all the people who were positive they solved the Forest Fen treasure, only to be wrong. Why? 'Cause they had ego and emotions. Take your ego and emotions out of the hunt and just persevere. If anything, use your emotions to appreciate the things that the hunt shows you while on the hunt.
I go down 6 rabbit holes per day.
On my 3rd trip back home, I promised to pick up the fragments of my brain I scattered along the way. I don't regret a thing and wish I had more time to fully take it all in. If you got out, you're doing it. Not thinking about it. My thoughts are all about it not being found yet. That's saying
I just woke up at 3 a.m. to drive 3 hours to find nothing and drive 3 back, and I'm still searching. It's hard, but if I find it, I'll be so happy.
Can someone go check my solve more thoroughly? I've been boots on the ground twice, 2 separate trips last spring, but hit snow the first trip and ran out of time and had to drive back home the second trip. I doubt I'll make any more trips to Montana this fall/winter. 1. Start in Dilian. Meh. 2. Drive out of town following Blacktail Road. Follows Blacktail Deer Creek. A retired fish and game warden, he made his home on the outskirts of Dillon, Montana, where Blacktail Deer Creek whispered stories through the pro. Willows. Blacktail Deer Creek became my personal classroom in the art of patience. Those fishing waters taught me more about life than any textbook could about waiting, about hope, about the quiet thrill of possibility. Each cast was a story waiting to be told, each ripple a whispered secret from the depths. 3. Turn left on East Fork Blacktail Road follows East Fork Blacktail Deer Creek, 30 miles to this road, and 12 miles after the turn to the campground/trailhead area. 30 plus 12 equals 42. 4. You're entering bear country and driving east when you turn onto this road, lots of signs about it. 5. Follow the road all the way back to the campsites. You'll find a sign for Honeymoon Park. 6. Using a compass. The sign for Honeymoon Park is exactly 20 degrees east, and you're on the backside of Sawtooth Mountain.
I have been there and several other places on BTDC. My first trip the gate was locked and there's no way that you could have gotten to the end of the road because of the amount of snow. I looked around there pretty good when the gates were open. They opened May 15th and he said it was accessible at the time. He released the phone. There was no access at that time. He couldn't even ICANN. It was against the law.
Maybe think about cast in a different way and try not taking the paragraph as literal. That's what I'm doing, but I'm also in New England and don't have the treasure.
So you skip the walk near water's silent flight and just drove to a sign that's at 20 degrees. And this sign is supposed to be the bride's foot of 3.
Just finished my first BOTG. No treasure except for the thrill of the hunt and some beautiful scenery. I have to admit, however, that my solve led me to a point that I was going by anyway on a family trip. So, I'm really a novice and a wimp all in one. Hope to find an aha checkpoint moment at her foot of 3, but nothing. Then looked anyway in the place where return her face was pointing, but had to admit it was like looking for a needle in a haystack in which there was no needle. Well, back to the drawing board, or poem in this case.
My biggest takeaway from the X event was how Justin kept repeating, "The poem is the point." The book and documentary are supports. It was like he was saying, solve the poem, solve the poem, solve the poem, A, B, because he said there is no way the kitchen-sized treasure spot can be solved through study alone. BOTG is necessary. Should we put our heads together and solve this thing? I have an idea regarding the poem structure I haven't yet seen anywhere, but am hesitant to share because early on I shared something that drew some flack for being too transparent. I think that person's fear was that working together made it more likely somebody else would find the treasure, not them. Thoughts?
Yes. I also got the same vibe from him. He said the poem is the #1 thing, then the book, then the documentary. And he said people are concentrating way too much on whether it's free or not. But I was using that as an elimination tactic, not as in like, I can't pay to go in. That was not the point. I think he missed that during the chat too. Sharing ideas is great. I think he said that people have figured out the 2 clues from the documentary already, and that was shared all over social media.
So a few months back, I had a theory, so I took certain coordinates and plotted them on his map, provided with the poem in a certain order, and then connected the dots one by one with a ruler, and apparently the order that I had plotted and the way I had to connect them made it so that none of my lines crisscrossed, they all made ban. A specific shape, and that shape was a zigzag with an arrowhead pointing at a specific location on that map. Did anybody else get that? Pretty much a giant 3D zigzagged arrow with a giant arrowhead, and the tip pointed to a very specific location, not in Montana.
Poem only solvi. BTME technically, in a very challenging and lengthy sense, years of boots on the ground. Yes, the poem can be the only tool needed. Now ask yourself, how many different ways are you going to make that fit until you get it right? It's exponential. The odds are not in your favor to use the poem alone. The game changer is doing what he implies in the introduction of BTME. Page she, first full paragraph. If you want the hard way, just use the poem and keep randomly searching. If you want an efficient way, get to know Posey through his work. A way to leave your legacy in history is to write a memoir, a confession, an autobiography, and make it public, tying a motivating allure to it that others will have to read over and over to get to know your life and experiences in order to effectively reach an end goal. For him, it's deeply personal. For the world, it's a goal to gain something he's aware of the reality, but effectively his intent is accomplished. Stop and think about it. The significance of it all is at the core. On the surface, basic math, a map, the internet, a little puzzle knowledge, some reflecting. It's all there, but to him, it's so much more.
I've read that many times. Currently, I'm at the dumb luck stage. There are so many layers to this. I don't think most realize how intricate this puzzle is. We just returned from our 9th BOTG to said area, thinking we had a solution. Alas, nothing. But, standing there, as I've done many times before, I could hear the whispers through the trees saying, "You're close." Is it there? I believe it is. Just waiting to be found.
Back in May, Justin made a specific post on X declaring, "Do not send him your solve." There are many who continue to do so, and then complain that he doesn't answer. Isn't it obvious that he cannot respond, no matter how close you are? The only thing he can do is read the information and allude to having knowledge of the status of the hunt's progress as he chooses. He specifically states the treasure cannot, and will not be moved until genuinely found. Many make comments about his authenticity in bending things. I just can't wrap my head around the negativity. He designed something interesting and meticulously concerned over legalities and solvability, and yet a level of greed and frustration still leaks out of some. Thanks, JP, for the opportunity. Many of us see it as something to simply participate in, and I perceive it as universally accessible, enjoyable, just another reason to get the family outdoors and do something new. Thurs. Nothing to microanalyze about his intentions. Nothing wrong or clever has been done here. No twisted or tangled operation. Keep it simple and seek, be in the present, and appreciate the opportunity.
Fully agree with you on disbelieving how anyone can feel or voice any negativity toward JP and his actions, but I tend to disagree with you regarding not sending him updates. While it's true that most of us, including me, are on the wrong path and sending him updates is a waste of his and our time, there are likely to be a few out there who are on the right path. I'm rather certain he'd like to hear from them because it's exciting. I believe he did this because he knows how exciting it is to be on the right path. And who better to share that excitement with than the puzzle's creator?
Back in June, I sent him a very detailed solve that I had written out. Once some information came out that I knew that it was wrong, but I sent it to him not expecting a response, but more just so that he has more information on what people are thinking. The kind of angles they are looking at, because this might help him determine how or when he might want to give out future clues. To my surprise, about 10 days later, he actually sent me a very nice note clearly appreciative of the level of work that I had done. He just wished me that hopefully I'd be able to get out there someday.
Folks have correctly and done retrograde analysis on their solves. Could it work with just the poem as clues? But this works both ways, retro and pro. You have to be able to start a solve and confirm it with only the poem. A place colloquially known as the hole, or something that looks like it fits, can't be your first confirmation. At least one thing in the poem brings you directly to an area or region. Immo, it can't be water's silent flight, because to start there would leave you with thousands of possibilities.
I don't want to say that FF and JP treasure hunts are equivalent, but since it's the closest example, and since one was inspired by the other, what really led people to the confluence of the Gibbon and Firehole, WWWH. There was nothing in the poem that truly narrowed it down in any sort of linear fashion. It took the later clues to match up correctly to provide confidence. But we know how that goes. The clues can be made to match hundreds, if not thousands of places, and confidence is always in flux.
That was my point. Imagine that wisdom is referring to the town, and the hole is the Big Hole River. I don't necessarily believe the poem could then lead you to a much tighter area. Without drawing a specific geographic reference directly from the poem, you're totally lost, and it's effectively impossible to solve with poem alone. Whole, for example, could be 100 places, and while it gets you somewhere but still leaves too many possible places for a reasonable BOTG effort, the poem must be offering more.
How do the green arrows refer to that line of the poem? Any of us could pick 4 spots mentioned in the book and draw out a shape on a map. The problem is that we have to use the book to do so. Nothing in the poem suggests Polaris, Yellowstone, Tucson, or Heron Lake.
Can it be solved with just the poem? Hope so. I think Justin will need to provide some pretty awesome clues that are more or less pointing us clearly down the correct path before anyone figures this out. If it very likely to end, just like the Fen treasure, someone is going to find it and we will all be thinking it wasn't actually solved, and then we can continue to come here for the next 10 years and bitch about all the time we lost trying to solve the impossible.
I would imagine it's solvable with the poem and a bit of research, and a minimum of several days BOTG. The book can be used to confirm your solve. It's probably more straightforward than many of us are making it out to be.
People are trying to solve it all without the poem. As you state, I do think wisdom has to be the first clue, not first actionable one. It's put at the start to make it capitalized without being obvious, and it's now given a rough, but still very large area to search. From there, you have to find something about hope and surging clear and bright. And there are holes in the area which narrow it down to water nearby. This is why he said people have solved the first couple clues. But from there, it gets much harder.
I could not solve it by poem alone. Foot of 3 at 20 degrees, it could mean a monument. It could mean a river. It could mean a constellation. And on and on. At least I have that interpretation narrowed down to something between Earth and Orion's belt.
I could not solve it by poem alone. Foot of 3 at 20 degrees, it could mean a monument. It could mean a river. It could mean a constellation. And on and on. At least I have that interpretation narrowed down to something between Earth and Orion's belt.
Throwing this out BC based on the solvable with just the poem it seems ruled out, I thought Waters referenced Fitzwater's chapter would work with punctuation and lower case. Silent flight in that chapter could be a few things. The reference to flight of fancy indicates the thing that was unrealistic and whimsical in that story, as people have said a few things in the chapter seem to telegraph that they're being exaggerated. Grandpa nailed a tree silent night. He got smashed by his own floating tire and knocked out silently driftin'. Recovered a mile downstream by fishermen.
Wayne Fitzwater is all over. Migrations from Dillon to Tuscan. Hiking the Rincons with just a knife and a canteen. London Bridge, unconscious in the Snake River. Santa's elves, Exynos trees, silent flight. There are other Waters' silent flights in the book, though.
If you were to take Waters as being written intentionally, it wowked kinda have to be a possessive of multiple waters, or a reference to the whole family, or to the chapter BAME. If it were just a reference to Fitzwater, it would have the apostrophe before the S. And if it were referencing a group of people, it's a gray area, but I think it should be capitalized.
We've heard the same thing from Justin in the last 2Q, both times when people ask him questions about the physical distance between clues, or between clues and the treasure. That isn't the right question. Last time, he went so far as to recommend paraphrasing here that we consider what is wrong with that question and what the right question might be. One possible reason for Justin's known answer is that not all the poem clues refer to physical locations or objects in the physical world. I'm assuming that neither the first clue nor the first actionable clue are physical locations. Or objects in the physical world. I'm assuming that neither the first clue nor the first actionable clue are physical locations, since we know that the treasure does exist in the physical world. However, water's silent flight and round the bend past the whole asterisk are asterisk physical locations, as the distance between them can be expressed as walking distance.
He answered a question about each clue taking you progressively closer to the treasure by suggesting that people watch the first Indiana Jones and National Treasure. In those movies, the clues aren't taking you on a path to the hiding location in the Fen style. Moreover, there is a similar trick in both movies involving light/shadow, or the sun, and precise angles. On the brick containing the glasses used to read the hidden code on the Declaration of Independence, and of course, the staff of Ra, which must be inserted in the correct hole, which then casts a beam of light from the sun on the location of the Wells of Souls. Because of this, and similar devices in other hidden legend treasures, e.g. Lost Dutchman's gold mine, we should consider that the poem might be using a similar pointing device to reveal the treasure location.